she finally spoke. After years locked away, in the cold silence of her prison cell, Ghislaine Maxwell broke her silence, and the name she whispered sent shockwaves through the world. Meghan Markle. Not a politician, not a billionaire, not some distant socialite, but her. Secrets buried, conversations blacked out, hours of testimony erased, as if someone was desperate to hide the truth. Who she really was before the fairy tale, before the tiaras and global headlines, is a story no one was ready to hear. And what Maxwell revealed could change everything we thought we knew, because the past doesn't stay buried forever. The world thought Ghislaine Maxwell had been silenced forever, a name erased by scandal, by prison walls, by the shadows of Epstein's empire. But when she spoke, it wasn't to plead innocence. It wasn't to beg for sympathy. She leaned back on that cold metal cot, her voice low, measured, yet carrying a weight that made everyone in that room freeze. Her name, Meghan Markle, she said, and the air felt like it had been punched out of it. A simple phrase, but one loaded with secrets that no one outside those walls could begin to imagine. People laughed at the idea at first. Meghan? Really? Murmured one of the lawyers, thinking it absurd, thinking the story couldn't possibly reach that far. But Maxwell's eyes didn't waver. She had seen things, places, rooms, conversations that the world would never know about. And when she repeated it, quietly, deliberately, a chill ran down every spine. Witnesses whispered afterward, the kind of quiet that carries a lifetime of shock. One assistant later said, "I still can't sleep. I keep seeing her eyes, like she knew everything and we were nothing but spectators." The documents leaked after that day were even more startling. Entire hours were blacked out, paragraphs replaced by thick, impenetrable blocks. Officially, it was privacy protection, but anyone reading could see the precision. The lines erased weren't random. They were surgical. Pages vanished around the name Meghan Markle, time erased like someone was afraid she would remember it all. And the court reporters, used to scandal and secrecy, felt something shift in the air. A young intern said, trembling, it wasn't just her name, it was context. There were other names, places, connections. And suddenly, I understood. They didn't want this out. Maxwell began describing the rooms. Yacht parties where cameras weren't allowed. Dinners where every handshake meant something more than polite greeting. Spaces where reputation and discretion were currency, where a single misstep could ruin a lifetime of opportunity. And in those spaces, she said, Meghan had a name, a code name. Flower, Maxwell whispered. Not an alias, not a playful stage name, but a word that meant she belonged to a system no one outside could see. Fans of Meghan were stunned when rumors of these conversations leaked. Social media erupted. Flower? Meghan? What is going on? One tweet read, thousands of likes cascading in seconds. Others whispered theories. Was this part of Hollywood? A secret circle of elites? Or something darker, more calculated? Insiders in the royal world reportedly stiffened at the idea, while palace staff reportedly refused to comment. The tension between curiosity and fear palpable. Maxwell's revelations hinted at conflict nobody had expected. She spoke of elite circles that weren't about fame. They were about strategy, influence, and power. People went to those rooms not to be seen, but to see, to learn, to network in silence. And according to Maxwell, Meghan wasn't just observing. She was learning, absorbing hierarchies, noting alliances, quietly understanding the unspoken rules. Maxwell's words painted a picture of a young woman moving through a dangerous labyrinth with remarkable composure. But not everyone approved of this path. Maxwell hinted at rivalries, quiet, unseen battles fought in whispers. People who didn't want Meghan there, who saw her presence as a threat. One of Maxwell's associates was quoted as saying, "It wasn't personal. It was survival." You couldn't ignore Flower, but you couldn't trust her either. The tension was palpable. Every mention of these gatherings, every recollection of names and rooms, made it clear the world Meghan entered before Harry was one where alliances were fragile, secrets lethal, and betrayal just a breath away. And yet, through it all, Maxwell insisted Meghan survived. She navigated those rooms, carried herself, and learned what power looked like when it didn't wear a crown. She left footprints in circles most people couldn't enter, and no one outside knew how influential or dangerous those footprints might become. The whispers of witnesses, the redacted testimonies, the code name Flower, all of it was building a story of a past carefully hidden, a past Maxwell finally dared to reveal. By the time part 1 of her testimony ended, everyone in the room understood one thing. The Meghan Markle the world thought it knew was only the surface. Below it, deeper currents ran, currents Maxwell had navigated, observed, and now exposed, fragment by fragment, word by chilling word. The story only deepened after that. Maxwell didn't stop at names or code words. She started painting the lines between them, the unseen connections, the betrayals nobody outside those rooms could have imagined. She spoke of private gatherings where Meghan, known as Flower, was more than an observer. She was a presence that people remembered quietly, insistently. She wasn't just there, Maxwell said, voice low, almost reverent. She was in the rooms where decisions were whispered, where influence was measured in glances and subtle nods. And people noticed. Insiders who had once shrugged at rumors began to speak, just fragments, just hints. One former staffer recalled, there were nights when Meghan stayed at the edges of conversations, not speaking, just listening. And afterward, people would look at her differently. Some admired her, some feared her. That fear wasn't rooted in scandal. It was rooted in knowledge. She knew the networks, the alliances, the subtle power plays. And knowledge, Maxwell implied, could be dangerous. There were stories of dinner parties aboard yachts, silent dinners where the guest list alone could shift fortunes. Maxwell claimed that Meghan had been there, present in the same curated environments that Prince Andrew's world frequented. Not romantically, not socially, but strategically. She moved in circles where whispers were worth millions, where a single misstep could make or break reputations. Maxwell's words carried an edge. She didn't come as a celebrity. She came as someone useful, someone curious, someone who understood what silence could teach her. But not everyone welcomed her. Maxwell hinted at rivalries, subtle but sharp. Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, she said, had seen Flower before the public did, and that early awareness shaped the caution Fergie would later show when Meghan entered the royal sphere. It wasn't personal, it was strategy. Maxwell's revelations suggested that Meghan's rapid ascent, her transition from actress to duchess, wasn't accidental. Someone powerful had watched, guided, and perhaps placed her in the right orbit at exactly the right time. And then there was Soho House, April 2015, Istanbul. The opening was more than a party, it was a proving ground. Maxwell described the guest list as immaculate financiers, media titans, gatekeepers of influence. And in that room, Meghan's trajectory pivoted. She met people who would later define the networks she navigated alongside Harry. Maxwell's words suggested orchestration. She was positioned. Not by luck, not by chance. Someone arranged it. Someone knew she was ready. The shock didn't end there. Maxwell revealed that the redacted sections of her testimony weren't designed to protect Meghan. They were designed to protect the men she had encountered, the names, faces, alliances, because those people were the real threat if revealed. Meghan, Maxwell insisted, was a witness. She carried memory. She remembered conversations, subtle nods, coded words, and private introductions that the public would never hear. And that memory, Maxwell warned, was dangerous to those who wanted the past buried. The leaks and the blacked-out hours suggested deliberate concealment. Every erased paragraph felt like a warning. There are things that cannot be named, alliances that cannot be acknowledged, and a young woman who saw too much. Maxwell's words carried both fascination and dread. Witnesses whispered afterward that the weight of what had been said, and what had been erased, made it impossible to unhear. One in turn described the feeling like standing too close to a storm. You know it's coming, and you can't run. By the end of part 2, betrayal was no longer a theory. It was alive. The circles Meghan had navigated had watchers, strategists, and guardians of secrecy. People who once smiled politely at her presence were now revealed, through Maxwell's testimony, to have been assessing, weighing, and, in some cases, maneuvering against her. Her path through those rooms, those events, had been observed by those who would later fear her rise. And the world outside, oblivious to the silent games, would only slowly begin to understand the stakes. Maxwell's revelations were a warning. The story didn't belong to Meghan alone. It belonged to everyone who had ever moved in those hidden circles, and now the truth was clawing its way out, piece by piece, name by name, and secret by secret. The betrayals, the alliances, and the meticulously erased hours hinted at a reality so carefully buried that when it surfaced, it could change everything. The storm finally broke. Maxwell's words, whispered in that cold cell, had rippled outward, shaking corridors and drawing gasps from everyone who thought they understood the world Meghan Markle had entered. And now, the full weight of it began to hit. Friends and insiders alike were scrambling, sending frantic messages, leaked DMs with cryptic warnings. Do not touch this story. It's bigger than you think. One anonymous source allegedly said, "We knew she was clever, but no one realized just how much she saw, how much she remembered." Maxwell described rooms where every move was watched, every word measured, every glance catalogued. And in those rooms, Meghan Flower had not just existed. She had observed, remembered, and survived. One former aide whispered in disbelief, "She wasn't a player. She wasn't a target. She was everywhere. She saw everything." It wasn't fame that made her powerful, Maxwell implied. It was knowledge, a kind of quiet omnipresence that unsettled the most seasoned players. Then came the yacht stories, the Istanbul gatherings, the Soho House introductions. Maxwell claimed that people who later became familiar names to the public had noticed her long before she became the Duchess. Conversations overheard, subtle warnings given, and strategic placements. She had been part of the web long before the cameras caught her. One leaked fictional transcript of a private call included a chilling exchange. "She knows too much, and she'll remember," a voice said. "Sharp, cold, calculated." Another whispered back, "Let her rise. That's the gamble. She'll do the work for us." The fallout was immediate. Online forums lit up with speculation, hashtags trending within hours. Fans and critics alike were divided between disbelief and intrigue. Maxwell just confirmed what we all suspected, one viral post read. Another comment asked, "Does this mean the royal family has been hiding her past all along?" And yet, the most unsettling part was the silence from those who knew the truth. It wasn't denial. They were waiting, calculating, measuring how far the storm would go. Maxwell's testimony suggested that Meghan's past was a kind of secret curriculum in power, a set of lessons learned in rooms where failure could be fatal. And yet, she had survived them all, quietly, invisibly, until she stepped into the public eye. The palace, according to Maxwell, wasn't afraid of her deeds. They were afraid of what she had seen. Names, alliances, whispers, and secrets that could not be revealed without causing devastation. The climax came with the revelation of the redacted hours. Entire chapters of her testimony vanished into black ink, protecting not Meghan, Maxwell said, but the men she had encountered. Powerful figures whose influence extended far beyond the public imagination. "She isn't guilty of scandal," Maxwell insisted. "She is guilty only of memory." And that memory, once fully uncovered, could dismantle the careful, curated facades that had been maintained for decades. As the hours of testimony surfaced piece by piece, insiders reportedly argued heatedly over what to disclose, what to redact, what to destroy. One fictional leaked DM read, "If this gets out, we are finished. Everything we've built, erased in an instant." Another said, "She's not the threat. She's the mirror." That mirror reflected a world nobody wanted to see, the unpolished, dangerous, manipulative networks behind wealth and power. By the end of the revelations, it was clear that Meghan's rise had been watched, measured, and, in some ways, orchestrated, but her ascent had also made her untouchable. She had become a figure who carried not scandal, but knowledge, and that knowledge made her unpredictable and potentially dangerous to anyone invested in keeping the past buried. Maxwell's words left the world with a chilling question. Who else had seen her, remembered her, and feared her? And then, the final pause, the haunting silence that followed her testimony. Maxwell leaned back, eyes narrowing, and whispered what everyone had been waiting for, but no one wanted to hear. The story doesn't end here. And some of the names you think are safe are already lost. The truth hung in the air, heavy, unspoken, and unstoppable. What Maxwell revealed shook the foundations of everything we thought we knew. Meghan Markle's past, her presence in secret circles, the code name Flower, the whispered alliances, the hidden gatherings, every detail pointed to a truth the world wasn't ready to face. And yet, even after all the redacted hours, the erased testimonies, and the veiled warnings, One thing is clear, the story is far from over. Leaked messages suggest there are recordings, conversations, and documents that haven't surfaced yet, details that could expose names and connections no one expected. Some insiders claim, if the rest comes out, it will rewrite everything you think you know about the royals and those elite networks. This might be the end of one chapter, but what happens next changes everything. If you want to hear the rumored leaked calls and secret confirmations, comment below for the next video. Every secret Maxwell hinted at is just the beginning, and the storm is only growing.